Thank you. People find it difficult to understand me in Ireland, so I apologise in advance. My name is Seán Ó Grádaigh. I'm a lecturer in teacher education in the National University of Ireland, Galway. And what I'm going to talk to you in this session about is how we have revolutionised teacher education by using a mobile device. And later, I'll be looking at, in another session, I'll be looking at how digital technologies or what are the affordances of digital technologies for education in general. But this session, we're totally going to look at teacher education and how mobile devices can be situated in teacher education. So this is my institution, MGO ITE Galway. It's on the west coast of Ireland. It took me 11 hours to get here yesterday on the west coast. What's interesting about our teacher education program, which will make the rest of my talk, which will give relevance to the rest of my talk, is we prepare teachers to teach through the Irish language. So my first language is Irish, my second language is English, and my teacher education program, or the teacher education program I work on, prepares teachers to teach in Irish medium schools. So there are two education systems in Ireland. One, everything is done through English, and a smaller section of schools, everything is done through Irish. And we prepare teachers to teach in these schools. Now, what's interesting about the Irish medium schools is that 80% of them use iPad. So in every classroom, in Irish medium schools, in nearly every classroom, students have an iPad in front of them. Now this is not normal. It's not normal in Ireland that schools are one-to-one with a device. But the reason Irish medium schools started to adopt a mobile device is because there was a shortage of content. And Irish teachers, like me, I teach geography and history. I never had a book, because there was never a book for our exit exams through the Irish language. So we always created our own content. When the iPad came, it just made it so much more easier to do this. Now what's interesting is we ran a short pilot, and we asked 40 student teachers to come with an iPad, and we would use it on the program. It was to last 3 months. And then we were to go back and teach the way we always did in the EdTech classes. But after the 3 months, we never changed. We couldn't, because our students were creating courses, they were creating learning videos, they were creating ebooks that were so superior, the quality was so much higher than we had been producing before, that we had no choice, that we had to keep going with the pilot. This quote is really interesting. I'm sorry it's so long, but what it says is this. And it's borrowed from the National Education Technology Plan in the States. What it tells teacher education tutors like myself is, if you teach a module on a teacher education program, a module on educational technology, students will see it as an extra thing. If you infuse technology all over the program, then students won't see it as an extra add-on. So what we've tried to do is, we don't teach technology anymore. We try to use the technology in every section of the program, and it seems to work. The other rationale we have is the why, or why should anybody be using technologies, digital technologies, or mobile technologies in the classroom. There's a really interesting picture of when the French Assembly decided to ban mobile devices or phones in French primary schools. There are 200 people in the French Assembly, and almost all of them are looking at their phones. And what's really interesting about that is the prohibition is okay for kids, but not okay for adults. So us adults, we use it all the time, and it has changed our lives. All we have to figure out is, when is it worth using? So I want to explain this with 2 different analogies. These are my 3 little boys. Okay? Oh, I have the wrong date. It should be 2019. So, this first guy, the middle guy, that's his first day in school. He started in 2018, okay? The oldest guy, he's 10, and this guy is 8. So if we use their ages to look at how the world has changed since this guy, the oldest guy, was born, okay? So in 10 short years, how has mobile and digital changed our everyday lives? There was no Twitter when he was born. It is the largest news content sharing platform in the world, between Twitter and Facebook. It has totally revolutionized the way we receive information. The second one there, Airbnb, has totally revolutionized how we book rooms. Totally changed, overnight. The third one there, really interesting. What's interesting about Airbnb is they've no beds, they don't wash linen, they don't clean, they've no cleaners. But they've totally revolutionized the industry. Alibaba is the largest shop on the planet, and it has no warehouse. It has no inventory. It has revolutionized its area because it's mobile and digital. Netflix, until very recently, never created any content, but it's the largest picture house in the world because it's mobile and digital. This is what has revolutionized our world. Uber, what's really interesting is all of them are only in the last 10 years. So for us to think that we really won't have, that there is no affordances for education, I think it's a little bit naive, and we'll look at that in a few minutes. What's really interesting about this is this little guy who started school in September, he will enter the workforce in 2036. What is the world going to be like then? We don't know. We have no idea, but it will probably be mobile, and it most definitely will be digital. So what we have to figure out is, are we teaching the right skills? I don't know how my boys will meet people, but it'll probably be mobile and digital as well. Our teacher education program is next to a really large boys' school. Every day, 800 boys go into school. And they have a T-square, do you have that in schools in Germany? The timber T for line drawing for... Yeah. I have no idea why they use them in schools, because there is no job in the world where you need the T-square. What is it called in German? I don't know either. It doesn't matter, we won't be using them. But we see hundreds of boys going into school with this for instructional design. They won't be using that, so we have to be careful that we're not this was a useful skill 10 years ago, not anymore. The other rationale I'd like to show you is this. And you'll understand where I'm coming from, and then I'll go through the affordances. Does anyone here bake? Do you like to bake? Okay, my wife likes to bake, and she's pretty good. But last Christmas, she convinced me to buy one of these. Have you one of these in your house? It costs a lot of money. It has a manual. And the manual, the book that goes with this is 500 pages. 500 pages. She never read it. There are lots of buttons on this, but she doesn't know what to do with them. But it looks nice. It has to be red because our kitchen is red. The point I'm trying to make here is, did my wife's baking get any better? Not at all. But she had a really shiny, beautiful machine in the kitchen. I think this is, you understand where I'm going now in a few minutes. We see the same as well with cameras. You can have the most expensive camera equipment, you will not take better pictures. You could have, you see so many people with iPhone 10, beautiful camera on these, and they're taking video and it's in portrait, and you really want to tap them on the shoulder and tell them, just turn it around and then you have a video. So the more expensive, the more beautiful, whatever's in fashion, people tend to buy. And educational technology had that problem as well. This is my favourite. If you buy domestic sports equipment, you do not get fitter. Do not get fitter. That is a fact. As a matter of fact, the Irish Times, the big biggest newspaper in Ireland did a survey on people who bought domestic sports equipment, and they actually get less fit from the time they bought it, because they get disillusioned. What's really interesting is the most use in Ireland people get from domestic sports equipment is to hang clothes. That's what it's used for. And you can see where I'm coming from. So many schools were buying the shiny, pretty, exciting technology. But if you don't read the manual, if you don't get the training, and if you do not put in the pedagogical work, it'll make no difference. And that's the problem. We all thought it was a quick solution, quick fix. Schools were buying all of this technology, but they never really invested. If you invest in sports equipment, you will get fitter. If you invest in training, in photography, you will take better photos. And Deborah, my wife's cooking is really good anyway. What I do want to look at really quickly is there are obvious advantages, huge advantages to being mobile. I'm a geographer. I used to talk about the mountains, I used to talk about the rivers, I used to talk about the lakes. I don't have to anymore. I bring my students out, they record data, we bring it in and analyse. It's a way more immersive world. So I want to look at some of the advantages we have found on our teacher education program, and that's the most obvious. The fact that our learning environment has totally changed by being mobile and digital. That we can do things now that we couldn't have done before. The research data our students are pulling into their programs is so much richer than it had been previous. So the first day that our students come into our university, before they get a login to the Wi-Fi, before they get let in on the university VLE, they scan a code. And that code straight away gives them everything they need for the university. All just lands on their iPad. They never have to print a thing. I think that is a dummy code. But what they would do if it wasn't a dummy code is this. So it just turns up on their calendar on their iPad. And every single one of them, if we touch them, it has the room, it has the time, it has the lecturer. We also attach readings. So everything they will ever need from the first day they come into the program, they have sitting there on their iPad. So no emails, no nothing, it's just all there. The real obvious, and I know lots of universities are doing this, and I know there's a couple of talks on this at the conference today. The other real advantage we have is, and I'll go through this in some detail in a few minutes, is the fact that we're digital and mobile means that all of the lesson planning, all of the resources, everything our students do when they're on school placement or when they're on practice, we have access to. Until 3 years ago, I would never see all of these resources, all of my students' work, until I visited them in the school. Now we can give real feedback anytime we want. But some of the real advantages are this, and I think this is really important. So these are our students' TP folders. So they're the students that I am responsible for, and anything they put in their choosing courses, that's their digital portfolio, turns up on my device. But I want you to look at this. This is one of the most important changes that has happened on our program. This is we've started blending some of our work. So our students are all around the country in Ireland, all in different schools. And they go out for 10 weeks at a time in secondary. It's a master's program. And for 10 weeks we might have no interaction with our student teachers. Now we have online forums once a week where they all come in and have to share practice. We never shared before. It was physically impossible to share before. But I do want you to look at one person here, which is really important. And I'm going to find her. See this lady here? What do you notice about this lady? She's a little baby. This lady here, our program finishes in May. She had a baby in January, and she missed none of our program. Because I left an iPad with a streaming app on it, and she was at every one of my lectures. If you were teaching, I did the same, I left it there. 5 years ago, that girl would have had to leave our program if she had a baby, because she could not fulfill the requirements of the program. Now the fact that we're digital and mobile, She was able to go home, deliver a healthy baby, thank God, and finish the program. And now she's just, I heard from her a week ago, she's after getting a job and she's set for life because it was digital and mobile. It's a huge advantage to our program that we can facilitate students who might be able to be physically with us. The other real advantage to our program that we've seen being digital and mobile is in reflective practice. So the requirements, the professional requirements of a teacher education program in Ireland is a master. You have to have a master's research project, and it has to be reflective. So we have 7 or 8 reflective assignments over the 2 years of the program. Usually, I'm sure some of you did the same, usually you write a reflective essay. Does that sound familiar? That you wrote reflections on your lessons? Okay. We did some research and we found this to be true. Alright, so I'm going to pretend I have 2 teachers. So your teacher A and your teacher B. You teacher? No. You are now, congratulations. Alright, so teacher A, this is Joe. Okay? Joe has a degree in English language or Irish and has a degree in creative writing. Okay? And he comes into my teacher program. You have a skirt. I don't need his jeans, sorry. But your degree is in physics and applied maths. Now think about it. You've done 4 years of English and creative writing. You have a 4-year degree in physics and applied maths. Who writes a better reflective essay? Yeah, always. We saw that it was very unfair that people with degrees in Irish language, English language, liberal arts were getting the highest exit awards in teaching. Students who had degrees, undergrad degrees in maths, physics, economics, they weren't getting near, on average, weren't getting the same results. Because what we were assessing was your ability to write essays. So what we tried to do in our program, because we had the digital device, was to look at other ways, more equitable ways, that we could hopefully be reflective. And we came up with this plan. We now accept our essays, our reflections, in a couple of different formats. So the first one, they can do an online chat with a tutor, and we can assess that, and it may suit you. The second one is we ask our students to give us audio reflections, so they can just give us an audio file. The third one, I'm going to go through now in a few minutes, is a video file with a reflection on it. And we do accept written assignments, but we ask them to at least submit 1 each time. After that, they get a choice. This one is really interesting. We ask them when they're out in teaching, after they teach a class, we ask them to do what we call a hot reflection, that they give us their feedback straight away. So they come out of teaching a lesson, they sit in their car, they hit record, and they say, I had a brilliant lesson, it was excellent, I'm delighted with myself. Or they're nearly in tears, and they say, I had a terrible lesson. I am so downhearted, I'm not sure if this is for me. We've had them where students were physically almost crying, and that's our hot reflection, straight away. We ask them to supplement that with cold reflection after a week. So they add a reflective piece after having some time to analyse what happened. And usually you might come back and say, well, I spoke to other teachers, and a lot of people have trouble with this kid, or whatever it may be. Or maybe you would realise, you know what, I could have done a better job if I had thought of X, Y, and Z. And the richness of that conversation, the richness of these audio files, are far superior to a lot of the reflective essays that we were gathering. The next reflection I want you to look at is here. Now you won't understand this, it's only 30 seconds, but I do want you to listen, so you can see what happens. Oh, right there now, no sound. Try once more. If it doesn't work, I'll explain what's happening. No sound. Try once more. So this student here you're looking at and you won't hear it, unfortunately. This student here, she's on an offshore island in Ireland, and she gives us a 4 to 5 minute video of her teaching in class. Now you won't hear it here because I don't know why there's no sound, but what she does then is she puts a voiceover over it 4 times. So she has to identify 4 areas of interest. They could be, I did this well, or I didn't do this very well. This is a really interesting one, because she realizes, and if you look at her here in a minute, that she keeps on clicking the pen. It's really annoying. There's no way that she would ever notice that, only that she was looking at it. We never see things like this in essays. She also notices here in this essay that she keeps on saying so. I think it's 14 times she says so. And we all have these bad habits, but we never notice them until we look back. We don't like looking at ourselves. Our students hate doing this, but they learn so much from it. I'm sorry now you can't hear it, but what you hear there is they drag that into iMovie, and then 3 or 4 times along the video they hit record, and then they put their voiceover over it, which has revolutionised how we do reflection. So I'm going to explain how that works. So that girl you just saw creates a lesson. Okay, so that's reflective. They have to sit down and develop pedagogy and content. The second stage there is she has to deliver that or teach that lesson and record it, which is reflective because she's in the practice. The next stage of reflection is the student watches and analyzes that. So she will watch her video maybe 2, maybe 3 times to point out the areas of learning, which is reflective. The next layer on that is she has to put the audio on the video saying, this is what I learned here, this is what I would like to improve, this is an area that I thought was worked really well, which is reflective. And then finally, they share that video with me or with another tutor, and we give them feedback, which is reflective as well. And if you look at the amount of layers of reflection that is on that process compared to creative writing, you could bluff and make up something, or worse again, write to the criteria. And that's what we saw a lot of the time. When we gave a criteria for reflective practice, students tend to write to the criteria. When they have a video, they can't do that, because they have to talk about exactly what they see in front of them. I want you to look at this little video. There's no sound on it. But this is another area where we have digital and mobile has helped us a lot. Our students are spread all over Ireland, some of them in offshore islands. This girl is about a 3-hour drive from our university. And this is the view that I would have if I drove there, right? So if I was supervising a teacher, and if I went to visit this girl, I would sit at the back of the class. Is that fair enough? What we have here is a live stream. So this is being streamed live, not recorded, so there's no data breach. A live stream, point-to-point to my office. And I more or less have the same video, or the same view. That's her iPad on a little stand at the back of her class using the Zoom app. And here's the feedback. Because it's been streamed, there's two different tutors here, and she gets 2 opinions, whereas we couldn't afford to send 2 tutors to any student. So I'm just going to hit that. Okay? So she's getting feedback there. So in terms of equity and marking and evaluating her students, and if we have a student who is struggling, I can ask 3, 4 tutors to sit in for that 40 minutes and to give feedback, and it's really changed. We do record this, and the software identifies who's talking, and she will get a video of all the feedback she got back at the end of the session, which is really, really powerful. We've done some research on this, and 2 really interesting things happen. The first thing is when a teacher tutor goes to a school, it changes the dynamic of the classroom. So what happens there, we call it reactivity. The students become really quiet because there's a stranger at the back of the classroom, and they don't tend to engage with the teacher. And that is really hard. The teacher teacher who's trying to have an innovative pedagogy, for her supervisor. When we have the camera at the back of the class, there is no change in dynamic, which is really interesting. Students don't even look at it. And it is a way fairer and way more natural reflection of what the class is usually like. So reactivity with the students is totally wiped out. The other thing we noticed in the focus groups with students who did this was when me or another tutor was at the back of the class, the student teacher was always looking to see, is he happy? Is he happy? Is he smiling? Did he notice that? And it's very off-putting. When there's a stranger at the back of the class, they are looking for, some kind of clue of how am I doing? Whereas that reactivity is totally eliminated as well. Which is really, really powerful. Some of the other big changes that's happened to our program because of the mobile devices, and I'll be talking about this in the session later, so I'm not going to go into it in depth now, is we create our own content. There used to be a thesis there that Irish medium schools were disadvantaged because they didn't have books. They didn't have all the resources that English medium schools had. What we have known is this, and teachers don't like hearing this, but it's a fact. If there's a shortage of resources, teachers are more innovative. If there's a shortage of resources, teachers are forced to create, and when teachers create, they understand their content better. And I can explain that in two different ways. We don't need, I'll do this flippantly first. My oldest son, I'll see if this works actually. My oldest son came home with a book the other day. I got so mad. Came home with a book from school, and it was a history book. And the name of the history book was Focus on the Past, Edition 6. Nothing changed since Edition 5 in Roman times. Nothing changed since Edition 5, if you understand where I'm coming from. Publishers keep on producing content. We don't need more content. The world does not need more content. There is enough videos of a beating heart for free online. We don't need to create more. What we have to figure out is, how do we use it well? We didn't have access to everything when we were going to school. And what's really interesting is we had the opposite. When we went to school, I believe there was a ceiling to knowledge. And that ceiling was the amount that was in the book, and the book could be limited, or the amount the teacher knew, and that could be limited. Do you understand? Whereas now there is no ceiling. Now if a student doesn't understand something, they Google it. And hopefully they will get, they will come on some kind of resource which is useful to them. What we've seen in our Irish medium schools is, on average, they outperform mainstream English schools. And the reason being, all the research tells us is, Irish medium schools teachers have to be experts in their subject, because they have no book. They have to create content, and when you create content, you understand the content better, but something else happens. When you create content, you think pedagogically. When I'm designing a resource, I think, how will I use this in school? When I read something, I'm cut out of the design process. Do you understand? So if you give me a history book and I have to teach this content, I wasn't involved in the design of the content, so I never have to think pedagogically. When I have to create content, the complete opposite happens. I think pedagogically, how might I use this in class? The same thing is true in Maori schools in New Zealand. The same thing is true with Welsh language schools in Wales. When there's a shortage of content, teachers become expert. And they become experts through design. The fact that they have to design their own resources. And I will be going through some of the design implements in a few minutes. In the next session. What's really interesting about our students, I suppose, is in the first year, we track our teachers. So once they leave our program, we keep on doing some research projects with them. Last year, we did a research project in December, which meant they were only teaching for 4 months, and 60% of our students, these are newly qualified, had given whole school training. Which is really interesting, because what it says is teachers want training, they don't mind who gives it, but we don't always have the capacity to train our teachers. Other advantages for our teacher education program, I'll try and finish up then, is we're gone totally paperless. We don't use a DNE because we don't have to anymore. We're doing remote visits, which has saved us huge on time and money for travel. Digital natives, all our research tells us that there's no credence. We don't see that our students are brilliant digitally. They're good on Snapchat. They're good on Twitter. They're good at finding information. They haven't a clue how to teach with it. So this idea that all teachers now have the digital skills, we haven't found that at all. As a matter of fact, they're mad to learn. They're more adverse to learning how to create when they get the opportunity. Huge accessibility features, which we'll be looking at in the session later. Our students, we have 100% employment rate from our programme for the last 4 years. The national average in Ireland is 34 for full-time jobs. So schools do want these digitally able teachers. We use them to share resources, but our students now have a shared space online, and it's lasting years and years and years, where they just keep on adding. The huge advantage of digital and mobile is the sharing possibilities. Safety and security, we don't house any data. I'm not responsible for any data anymore. We have no hard drives. So for example, all of the distance visits you looked at, they're streamed live. We don't hit record, so there's no data privacy issues. There are huge research possibilities, which I'll talk about in a few minutes. And the profile of our program has grown. We set up our own conference, and maybe there's people here that would be interested in it. It's called the MITE conference, where there's about 20 or 30, between 20 and 30 university programs that have integrated mobile technology in their practice and are researching the field. So we all come together once a year. It was in Galway in Ireland for the first 2 years, it was in LA, it was in Galway, it was in Sydney this year, just in January, just back from it, and it'll be in Galway again, hopefully next year if people are interested. We have won some awards. A lot of our publications are online. I can share them as well. And I want to show you one tiny video before we end. There's also a case study on the Apple website of how we use e-books or iBooks or other books that you can look at. But I'm going to give the final word to this little guy. And I think it's a brilliant example of how digital and mobile can influence learning. This guy here, you saw him there on his first day of school. He can't read yet, and he can't write yet. He's only going to school for a couple of months. But he can create content. We couldn't when we were younger, but he can. He came home the other day, and I thought it was a beautiful book. Can you see this? He came with a book, a picture book, where his teacher had taken pictures of flowering plants that you find wild in the area. Now, I don't know why there's no sound, but anyway, I'll just show you what's going to happen. So I asked him and his brother to go around and to see how many they would identify. And I gave them my phone. And they came back with a video of 18 flowering plants. And I don't think I knew the Irish name for 10. He's a complete expert. He could be a botanist. But if you look at the video there, he's identifying, he's immersed, there's literacy, there's the spelling, pronunciation. It's been getting tired in a few minutes. But the last frame here is very, very interesting, because he's totally excited. And his last sentence is, I'll just wait for a minute. So here's 2 or 3 more images, and his pronunciation's perfect, almost there. He doesn't like methods. Sorry there's no sound here, but at the very end, come on. Here we are. The last sentence here is, I love homework. And I don't think he's ever said that in his life until he had to make that. So thank you very much, and I'll do another talk later, so if people want to get more of digital creation, that's what I'll be talking about. Thank you very much.